Though our friends are searching for refined adamantite and sacred relics, we will only know if they meet the requirements once they have arrived. In the meantime, is there aught else we might be in service of? Someone who knows a thing or two. You there, the lad with the red eyes and matching hair. You seem to know more than the average scholar. Only if Master Kokol knew how right he was. You and Graha are going to establish a rapport. Let's help the preparations. I propose this is not to curry favor. As confident as I am that we will succeed, we must be ready for every eventuality. Familiarize ourselves with the logistics of traversing the great expanse. If nothing else, it beats twiddling our thumbs. Aren't you a bunch of helpful buggers? If you mind lending a hand, I know where you ought to go. Charlie and Hamlet is lousy with researchers and scholarly types, busy themselves prepping for an exodus. Pah! That lot need all the help they can get. Off we go then. What I could tell is a lot of people actually live down here. I don't know how much help we can offer, but I dare say they'll benefit from somewhat of a fresh inspiration. That fresh inspiration Scholar Montaigne mentioned. Let's start by asking around, ideally without getting in anyone's way. Let's meet by the Aetherite once our work is done. And I dare point it out, this area reminds me of another area from Elpis. Yo, Living Way! Not to worry though, as all have since recovered the rather savage beatings you administered. They bear no ill will, well perhaps a little on the account of the savagery. Time heals all wounds. Most, anyway. All thanks to Urianger, you see, he taught me the finer points of cooking, which, despite my name, I know very little about. Fancy meeting you here, Wet. Our friends from the forum brought us to see the teeny tiny toy boat. It was quite impressive considering they didn't use any creation magics. What we're really interested in is a theorist itself, but now we find ourselves in a sort of funny underground miniaturized version of it. We were hoping the forum would give us a guided tour. It appears they're rather preoccupied. Honestly, all that time to prepare and they're still not ready? I suppose we'll just have to show ourselves around. At least, that's what we were planning to do until we chanced upon Urianger and your good self. You're both dawdling about, engaging in idle chit-chat. Perhaps you could show us a few points of interest. Won't that be fun? Oh god. Or the Labyrinthos. Unexpected yet prudent suggestion. Given the similarities betwixt this artificial environment and Bestway Boroughs, to seem in our best interest to have the Loprits acquaint themselves with the conditions deemed optimal by their Sherlian collaborators. However, I fear continued reliance upon my limited knowledge would risk narrowing rather than broadening their perspectives. Thou art better suited to lead this venture. A marvelous idea. How we begin with the great big who's it over there yonder? Yeah, the what's it? I shall leave its explanation to Rhett. Oh no. Oh, he's a tiny baby man. Look at him. Build up something so large without creation magics is positively stupendous. Perhaps you could direct our attention to its most important features. Search the apparatus for points of potential interest. You may move the camera as well. Zoom. Thanks. Hard to see from here. The golden pipe connected to the top of those tanks. I could see through that window another pipe at the bottom. Purifying water drawn from below. That water I hear inside that big tube must be because of the cogs in the gigantic wheel at the top. That's how they draw the water. It's probably some sort of spiral-shaped mechanism inside too. What the fuck? You spot an abystoma, an especially lively one at that. It would appear that the concept you observed in another time, another place, was approved for life in the wider world. Somehow. Don't be mean, it's cute! That thing looks like trees in Greatest Endsvale. Hold on, it's a bit strange shaped. Thin at the bottom, big at the top. Quite tall for something so unbalanced. This is where they store the water. I would hazard a guess the water drawn from the underground, presumably within some other mechanism, is purified here, stored in that tower before being distributed elsewhere. I'm right, aren't I? I knew it. A design brilliant in its simplicity, I dare say it would take only a moment to install even the harshest environments. For us Loporrits, that is. Securing a reliable source of water is of the utmost importance for any fledgling settlement. We have read, however, the people of the Theris sometimes make their homes in arid deserts and such. How are they able to survive? Waterfalls. Wherever you choose to live, you're never far from water. It's true. I worry we won't be able to procure the necessary amount. We can provide enough water to keep them from drying out completely. It would appear they rely on it far more than we anticipated. A few adjustments may be in order once we've calculated the average rate of consumption per individual. Maybe worth learning more about how exactly they obtain water in the first place. Master Alphino spoke of machinery responsible for that feat during our journey through the logic state. Oh my god. The Logisticon Alpha, did he not? Mayhap the Loporrits will share his appreciation for the engineering marvel. Absolutely splendid. We must journey beyond the sanctuary of the Charlene Hamlet. I shall lead the way. Yet to brave the untamed wilderness? A valid concern indeed. We cannot help but notice many dangerous-looking creatures with big, nasty teeth lurking beyond the safe confines of the settlement. Were we not escorted here by burly custodians, I dread to think what would have become of us. Too many hungry predators aforementioned big, nasty teeth. Loporrits may appear to be a potential, rather appetizing source of sustenance. Mayhap I impose thee to assist in securing safe passage to the Logisticon Alpha. My part, I shall act to escort living way and cooking way. You've got singing way and growing way. They're so cute. More valiant protector they could not wish for. Godspeed. It's all the same to you. I'd rather not be eaten by some horrid beastie. Come along, growing way. To the water extraction, what's it? And then they just ran off without me. Slapping way. That fiend had a mind to feast on roasted Loporrit. Thank you so much. I hope this water extraction what's it is worth these harrowing experiences. All part of the fun, some might say. I'd rather not be burnt to a crisp, if it's all the same to you. These babies now belong to me, and they are my children. Even though they're 1,000 years old and live way longer than me, I love them with all my heart. My friends and I bid you welcome to the Logisticon Alpha. My friends and I bid you welcome to the Logisticon Alpha. Our destination doth lie in the lift's top. Pray follow me. Simply marvelous. So this is where the magic, or science rather, takes place. Perfect environment to sustain life artificially created. Knowledge we'll gain here will be essential when we start looking for new stars for your kind to inhabit. Apparently most of them don't have air for you to breathe. You're all very lucky that Aetheris just so happens to provide everything you need to thrive. Or did mankind turn out the way they are because of the available resources? I wonder. Either way, it's nothing short of miraculous. I cannot wait to see more of it. Agriculture shock. Cooking Way is eager for a change of venue. At least, a change of what's it. All very wonderful, I'm sure. I was rather hoping to learn more about your nourishment provision facilities. Where's the food? As I imagine Singing Way and the others intend to study every conceivable facet of this apparatus, wouldst thou be so kind as to escort our visiting culinarian? Sounds much more interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to see firsthand the delicacies Urianger was telling me about. Even his incredibly vivid, if a bit too verbose descriptions cannot compare to the sampling them myself. Not to mention, a thirst will soon be no more. So I must learn all I can while there's still time. Got a point. Got a point. You want me to go back here? This is the place, yes? The heady aroma was enough to guide me here. I spotted several of the fruit and vegetables features in our compendium. I'd dearly love to try some. I read those who help themselves to a farmer's crop without permission are often caught, put into pies. Perhaps you could ask whoever's in charge if they're willing to part with a few samples. Cooking Way is now accompanying you. I love you, Cooking Way. I suppose if they did put me in a pie, I could see my way out. Wait, they get quite hot inside, don't they? Let's stick to the plan. What a fine mess this is. Excuse me, sir. I have this baby rabbit with me. The one who climbed down the mine shaft. I'd show you around if I could. I'm in a rush. I'm rushed off my feet preparing for the exodus. I'm not the only one. We've all got ways to do what we can. What we do down up here. First on the moon, then whichever star the form decides will be our new home. It's all so sudden, so real. Don't you want to go to the moon? Better than waiting for the final days to claim us. No matter how carefully it's all planned, we'll never be able to take every variety of flora and fauna with us. Even the ones we can take may not survive the new environment. So many species doomed to extinction. It's not what you came to talk about, is it? Nothing quite so dire, I assure you. Merely wish to sample a little of your produce, if we may. Help yourself. Where to begin? Grapes, yes? See if they're as delicious as they look. You gonna get a sour one? So sweet, so sour, it tastes like a ripe philosopher's carrot, and yet the texture is entirely different. Contrast between the outer skin and the fruit within is most peculiar, though far from unpleasant. I think I'll try another. Giving me food for thought, though far less visceral manner than any philosopher's carrot. What is your opinion on grapes? I love these things. I actually fucking love grapes IRL. And grapes make wine. And I fucking love wine. They are rather Moorish, aren't they? From what I've read, quite versatile too. Something about people stepping on them to make intoxicating beverages, as I recall. That's enough about grapes for the time being. On to the next treat. I was like, no, maybe they're fantasy apples. They're oranges. What came first? The fruit or the color? Who cares? Let's eat. Yes, that's... it's citrus. Equal parts sweet and sour, as with the grapes, yet nothing alike. I may have to consult Urianger about expanding my vocabulary. I cannot find the words to describe it. What I'm looking for is bitter. It's all very complicated, you know. So many flavors, so many choices. Each individual with their own preferences. Now I see why you all turned up your noses at the idea of eating nothing but carrots. Marvelous though they still are in my estimation. Let no one say otherwise. I've yet to sample any vegetables. That color, that texture, is some sort of enormous round carrot? Or pumpkins? Proper nomenclature is less of a concern than the taste. It's so hard and flavorless, I might as well be chewing a piece of wood. There are nothing more than misbegotten failures masquerading as godly carrots. Can't you see these are pumpkins? No one in any sense would try eating them raw. You're supposed to cook them first. You're not finding it an awful bother? Cooking is a joy unto itself. What's more, it broadens the range of ingredients that we may safely eat. Above all else, cooking allows us to draw out the full potential of our produce. Pumpkin stew has been one of my favorite dishes as long as I can remember. Perhaps even these hard blocks of plant matter that can become delicious as the oranges I sampled. Is there anything even more delicious? How about that yellow fruit over yonder? Uh-oh. A lemon tree. Wonderful fragrance. No idea how these are eaten. I'll just bite into it. Lemon! Fucking cooking way dies. Is this poison? You just bit into a fucking lemon, bro. It's supposed to taste like this? Something so similar to an orange be so revolting. Maybe time before my palate recovers to this ordeal. As such, call an end to this round of sampling. Let's say our farewell and return to the others. Less of the pumpkins, though I learned the hard way they're not to be eaten raw, enamored with the grapes and oranges, however. Then there's the lemon. The deceiver. I feel so violated. First time, was it? I'd hate for you to leave with a bad taste in your mouth. More ways than one. I'll give you this lemon muffin I baked. If this doesn't change your opinion, nothing will. More lemon? Have I not suffered enough? It would be remiss for me to spurn this opportunity of... Oof. A bit of sick came up there. Learn more of your inscrutable ways. Lemon muffin, do your worst. Baby about to learn a valuable lesson. This is delicious. Although I detect a hint of lemon, it complements the sweetness of the dough to create a perfect harmony. Never would have guessed its vile bitterness could be so utilized so elegantly. My good chap, this is simply breathtaking. We rarely use lemon in its natural state. It has a starring role in all sorts of recipes. The same is true for many other ingredients. It comes down to making the most of the resources at our disposal. Sometimes, that can even be the difference between life and death. I know we're able to take every species with us. No doubt the forum agonized over what's worth preserving. But what will be co-signed to the history? Hard choices, but make them we must if we're to survive. Strength of will. Now I know what Heidelin sees in your kind. Mankind, the Loprits, we were both born from accumulated knowledge of the ancients. They learned all there is to learn about the nature of sentient life and the fates of the stars themselves. I forgot to turn the music back on. Once a civilization has fulfilled the basic requirements for survival, it will inevitably seek to eliminate all forms of negativity and achieve perfection. Therein lies its folly and its downfall. Perfection is an unattainable ideal. It is the paradox of the immaculate carrot. Civilizations since time immemorial have deemed the pursuit of perfection as progress. They pay no heed to the cost of it incurred in their futile quests. All too often become the architects of their own demise, their dreams forever unfulfilled. What then is the alternative? The answer lies in knowing that our existence can never be perfect, content with what we have and make the most of it. Fucking way, you are having a very poignant moment. Very close to the themes of the story we've gotten so far. When life gives you lemons, make lemon muffins. Pardon my Orisian. What in the seven hells are you on about? And who are you anyway? Cooking way, at your service. I'm here to prepare for the trip to the moon. Once you get there, you'll be able to try my carrots. I've been growing all different kinds. Don't worry, there'll be room for your crops too. We'll work together to preserve as many Aetheris' species as possible, if you're up for the challenge. I look forward to it. This has been highly productive. Probably. Let's go see Urianger. Alright, buddy. You have to have a comment. He's the one of the forum's lunar collaborators. Not quite what I was expecting, but he seems a decent sort. Enjoyed the lemon muffin too. Next time he has one, he won't be compelled to wax poetic about the meaning of life and the immaculate carrot again. Oh my god. That's way funnier than you'd think. Also, he ran off without me. Let's rub it in. I had the most fantastic time while you were away. Urianger were able to obtain all manner of meteorological data for us to pore over. I'll be sure to put my newfound knowledge to good use once we return to the moon. My duty to make your journey as comfortable as possible. There's no telling how long we'll be there. 100 years? 1,000? Probably closer to 5,000, give or take. The most enlightening... That was most enlightening, especially the part with the lemon muffin. Wondering, you know any other places famed for their cuisine? The oodles of noodles. Lemsa Lamensa. Would that I had time to visit. The more I learn of Aetheris, the more I wish I could spare it from the final days. Adolin's orders are to flee, not to resist. Only there was some other way. Agreed, cooking way. I trust Muriel Ergonomics did bear fruit. Our own efforts were too rewarded. We now possess an embarrassment of educational riches. No doubt our guests' relentless pursuits of knowledge could have occupied them. Fortnight, alas, time is of the essence. We'll return to Charlenian's hamlet forthwith. Oh, I shall gladly attend to each and every loprit there, should any further questions to my power be answers. These little guys are cute. Can't handle it. Fucking killing me every second they're on screen. Because they were only added for this segment as a reference to FF4. Making me realize. Remake FF4 now, bastards! Do it faster! Gotta talk to Growing Way. Sigh. What's wrong, Growing Way? It was indeed me verbalizing a sigh to express my emotional state. Do you want to know why? I saw the reconstruction environment data for Aetheris at Logisticon Alpha. That's why. A forest so lovely and so leafy. Are all your forests like that? The Black Shroud is quite leafy indeed. A place of utmost tranquility. Gasp. Gasp, I say. With the star so wonderful, it comes to no surprise that you're reluctant to leave it behind. I was a fool to think otherwise. I assumed that the moon was something worth being proud of. Or to assume that the moon was something so worth being proud of. How ridiculous we must seem to you. Trying so hard, yet achieving so little. Not at all. Thy works are no less worthy for their uniqueness. I thought I heard tiny voices. Ingrid! How didst thou fare? Glean a fair bit from the researchers while helping move their cargo. Preparations have proceeded without interruptions here. Despite news of the coming end, we have the forum's leadership to thank for that. Doesn't mean people aren't worried though, quite the opposite. Knowing disaster could strike at any moment, they hurry to complete their work, equally aware that a single error could be the difference between life and death. We can hardly tell them there's no cause for concern. Perhaps not. Though aided by our godly growing way, we may yet find other ways to lighten their burden. Be used to people? I'm honored that you would think of me as so capable. Not sure I'm up to the challenge. Oh, and Urianger believes in you. Alright, so we're gonna go do this. Quest accepted. Sigh. Look at this guy. Look at this dude. Oh, can I help you? Yeah. It's up your bum. It is you who would help me. My anxiety truly so obvious. A burden shared is a burden eased. Tell us thy troubles. Those little fellows do look like rude listeners. I'm an engineer, you see. The say of the ship. It's a sum of decades of Charlene's ingenuity, built with peerless, elegant technology. All true, but none of that's a guarantee. Never before launched a starfaring vessel, let alone flown it into the great expanse. All the tests we've run have been on the ground. Only operational personnel and cargo will be aboard for the first voyage. Even so, if it fails us then, what can we do? If it doesn't, it could fall apart in the next flight and the one after that. We've done everything we can to prevent that from happening, but it hardly matters. We thought the Aether burner design was flawless too. Look how that turned out. Not familiar with these most daunting technologies, and thus doubts hold a power to allay his fears. I'm not sure about that, but well, you can tell me if there's any aspects of the ship's design that you are especially worried about. Our ability to walk and perform our tasks for one. I've devised a means by which to employ gravity, a spatiotemporal spell to regulate the environment. What if it's not strong enough? What if everyone floats away and begins crashing into things as soon as we left the star? Gravitation. Maybe I could be of help after all. Up there is not so different from down here, you see. The same rules apply if you consider them as part of one great big cosmos rather than separate places. Shit. They're actually getting into techniques. Both parties shall find comfort in this conversation. If Thancred's tale be true, still others who would benefit from insights born of experience. Gather thy companions, bring them here. Thou has a gift for finding souls in need of succor. Pray seek the distressed, apprehensive. I shall await them here. We're gonna buddy up the Loprits. They're like comfort animals or whatever. Well, yeah, you're distracted. I'm not neglecting my duties, I swear! I was in need of a little break, you see. I found myself unable to relax at all. Notice these weeds. Pleasant conversation partners, and oh so fuzzy. Goodness me, that does sound much better. Check around. A hyperventilating? Uh-oh. Am I dying? Is this what it feels like? No, man. You need to calm down. Having a panic attack. All design buckles under the strain. The entire vessel may explode on launch, claiming countless lives, dooming all mankind. That's highly unlikely. Yeah. Unlikely. Highly... Keep it cool, bro. They could check for structural flaws, you say. That will be wonderful. I'm breathing more easily already. Go! And the world is nigh, yet work goes no faster. Schedules and temporal things, feasible one moment, utterly bullocks the next. I've never felt so alive! This one is beyond your help. I can't get over this. Medical facilities on the ship, of course. I designed them with the assistance of our sages and surgeons. To imagine every illness or injury that one might face in that great expanse is beyond any of us. To say nothing of the effects that living out there indefinitely might have on the body. A crew from the moon? Why did I not think of that? Oh, there's so many people I have to find. I didn't realize it said 8. Anything for what's on the moon? No doubt that we can make it up there. Searching for a new star part of the planet sounds awfully vague to me. I asked the forum. Only tell us that our collaborators have everything under control. Forgive me, I don't feel particularly safe wandering to the sea on gods know what made by gods know who. They're right here. You can go talk to them, actually. You mean to say I can speak with them directly? Amazing! I hope they like questions. Oh, Timmy! Just leave me in my misery. The forum can appoint someone else. I apologize. I simply don't know what to do. How am I supposed to pilot the Ark if I'm already falling apart under pressure? Go talk to the Loprits, bro. You know a starship pilot that I might speak with? Truly? There's no time to waste. They can help me prepare for this monumental task. Go! Is there anything bothering me? I've been loading cargo for bells now. My back feels like a void sent played a piano on it. My feet and my knees are drums and cymbals too. This gleaner is fine, if in need of a break. Wanna go talk to some Loprits? Consult our collaborators. I suppose that would be more effective than sitting here brooding. Attempt to calculate how much cargo we have to consolidate in a few trips. Try the Aether Burner make out our original estimations unfeasible, but there are simply too many variables. I feel as if my brow will turn inside out. Perhaps our lunar associates will have more insight into how much weight constitutes too much weight for our purposes. Thank you for letting me know. How might I help you? What a lovely idea. I too notice people becoming rather tense, or start to pluck some fresh fragrant tea leaves. I'll need to track down 100 or so cups. Don't worry, I can manage. I hope you cheer everyone up. Goes well. This woman is doing better than you are! What the fuck? Blasted assistants! Where have they gone off to at a time like this? Beg pardons. I have no time for idle chit-chat. I need to confirm that the Aether levels are consistent throughout the vessel's machinery. I shall do it single-handedly, I swear, when I find those assistants of mine. Loprits are willing to help. Oh, why didn't you say so? At least they won't moan about how they checked 24 times already and haven't slept in weeks. Lazy sods. Damn. My face? What's wrong with my... Ow! It's a bit tense. I was tasked with ensuring the proper fauna, and only proper fauna, are brought with us to the moon. The suitably of a few species are still under debate. I can hardly make the decision myself when I know a little about the environment up there. Go talk to the Loprits. Through thine efforts, word hath spread throughout the labyrinthos. Verily, to a far greater number than we anticipated, living we doth gather more Loprits as we speak. I shall assign each in accordance with their skills, that new bonds of friendship might be forged. Should greater matters require not thine attentions, watch over them, and I prithee. I definitely said that weird. He said he was glad we spoke, and he thanked me. It was all worth it, wasn't it? Even the mistakes we made, because now we could tell them what not to do. So fucking cute.
Phew! Oh, finally some rest. Why, I haven't spoken so much in, well, in forever.
Lively, isn't it? The town is abuzz. Everyone eager to meet with our friends from the moon.
'Twould behoove you to consult with Sleeping Way. As our moon's pilot, his advice should be most pertinent.
Okay, but he's also sleeping Way.
I'm impressed. Truth be told, I struggle to tell one from another. No offense intended, of course.
None taken. After you and your friends left Mare Elementorum, we spent no small amount of time with your Urianger. Oh, the conversations we had. He told us all about Atheris, answered our every question, no matter how trifling or trivial.
It's because Urianger is a sweetheart.
Every page filled to the margins with knowledge. When I first arrived, I was struck by how little I knew. It was daunting. But then I realized that were it not for Urianger and his teachings, we'd still be stuck on the moon, gazing at your world and wondering what we've been missing.
What would they think if they could see Urianger now? I dare say they'd be more than a bit surprised. And impressed, no doubt. Master Louisoix, Minfilia, Papalimo, and not to forget...
Moonbreeder. It's them! Those are the two!
Oh there. Heard there was a visiting expert who we might bother with a few questions. I take it you'd be the one.
That's Wolfson and the other one.
Yes, I am.
Wilson and Blovida, Charlian's foremost researchers in the field of teleportation magic, and Moonbreeder's parents.
I had a feeling.
It hath been some time. 'Tis good to see you in good health.
Likewise, old friend. Blovida and I were most honored to answer the call. Never expected this reunion, though, did we, dear?
I'll say, the nerve. Sending that letter, then running off to the gods know where. Do you have any idea how worried we were?
I'm sorry. 'Twas remiss of me not to deliver the news in person. No, more than that. 'Twas I who...
Our daughter was disillusioned after Master Louisoix left her behind. The day the Scions called upon her was the happiest I'd seen her in years. She made her every choice of her own free will. No one could have ever forced her to do otherwise. Don't blame yourself for her death. Celebrate her life. You know that's what she'd want.
If there is one thing we resent you for, it was that we could not be there to mourn her with you. Reading the words you penned in that shaky hand, we must have cried as much for you as we did for her.
I'm sorry. I truly, truly am. I knew not what to say. Knew not how to express my feelings. The poems and platitudes of wiser men, musings on sadness and loss, studied and memorized, and meaningless in the moment.
Silly boy. We are all powerless before such grief. Even now, try as I might, the words escape me. But in our hearts, we know. We always know.
I remember when you were young, how the lads teased you for choosing the company of books over others. Our moon didn't take kindly to that. Be nice to Urianger, she'd shout, and give them a walloping. No matter how many times we scolded her.
So we offered a suggestion. Rather than starting fights, why don't you be the bridge between Urianger and the others? She had to mull it over for a while, arms crossed, brow furrowed in intense thought. But from that day on, she never let you be alone. She'd drag you outside to play, pepper you with endless questions, read the same books you read, all to try and understand you that much better. I'm sure it was annoying and exhausting at the time, but she only ever had the best of intentions.
And look at you now, at the center of the crowd. The reason there even is a crowd, having brought these people together. You've no idea how proud we are.
To see the boy, our daughter, trusted and believed in more than anyone, grow into the man she always knew he could be. I can see her in you too. Feel her. She walks with you wheresoever you go. So thank you, Urianger, for being who you are.
I think I can feel her too. The truth of her life. Not sorrow, but hope and love.
This moon breeder. She was important to him, wasn't she?
You could ask the man himself.
Oh, no. But watching this exchange reminds me how much I've yet to learn about your world. And its people.
You can live here your entire life and hardly learn a thing. And that's why it's too soon for this to end.
Needed that. That was a good emotional cutscene. I never thought to ask more about Urianger. I'd like to, but where to begin? Equally excited to have this opportunity. We're humming the whole way here. Spent so long gazing at the star, wondering, hoping to be here now amongst the people. We've made a difference. So much more than I ever dreamed. Never thought there was too little time before. There are so many people to talk to, so many things to learn. You must be one of the Scions, correct? Yeah, I'm Rhett. Thank you for caring for my daughter. The time she spent with you was all too short. I know she is proud to have you as comrades. Urianger is too, I'm sure. I certainly feel better for knowing he has good friends to look after him. See that he comes home from time to time. The classical Rodigan language isn't so different from Eorzean. Consider why our daughter's name... We named our daughter Moon's Bride. When I first held her, the moon was shining silver and full. The whole world seemed to aglow. I knew it had chosen her she would be the beacon of that self-same light. Of course, we'd let her hear our fair share of jokes about how we ought to have gone for sun instead. How bright and stubborn she was. Fiery as Moon Burrito was, she was always kind and gentle. Be assured, I am fine, I am. Well, glad to see them too, after so long. Gladder still that it was in your company, as difficult as it was to accept their kindness. It would have been far harder had I faced them alone. Good for him. Heather and Yalms. Anxiety has thinned to a manageable level. Thou hath my gratitude for lending courage to the Loporrits. Not disposed to rest in the laurels, several of our guests have elected to accompany my countrymen to their stations. Some few may still come hither to seek counsel. I shall remain to aid them as need be. Thou art needed elsewhere, do not let me detain thee. As a matter of fact, I was hoping you could check on Alice. Last I saw, she was struggling to carry an enormous pile of boxes. Westgate. I can go myself. I could go myself. We both know whose help she's less like to scorn. Not to mention that, much to my misfortune, I can think of several other things I ought to be doing. Later! He's like, I could be helping, but this shit sucks. Hey, nice levitation magic. I kind of want to try that. Squeal, squeal. Alice say, you don't look at the boxes, you carry them. What are you doing out here? I just had a fucking adventure with the rabbits. I'm done. I don't mind if you help with the boxes. It's far from the most exciting tasks. Are you sure? I appreciate the assistance. Get these to Aporia. Time is short, of course. They're full of organic specimen samples. Try not to be rough with them. Fourchenault will be waiting for us when we arrive. See you there. In my gratitude, how did you come to be involved in this? I suppose I have thank her to thank as well. If you're wondering why we were tasked with this, bringing these boxes to Aporia to begin with, so was I. Turns out that this is the base of operations of sorts. Those with final say to what is included in the ship's manifest can be found here. Father included, I suspect. That should be everything. Carried all of that at once? Are you trying to injure yourself? They're lighter than they look. Not everyone has your delicate arms. I suppose I should let someone know that we finished. Theopaldin is in the courtyard. We can report to him. Why don't you come along? You should get credit for your assistance at least. Considering where we are, might even learn something interesting. The heart-to-heart will have to wait, Fourchenault. We're having an adventure over here. You hear that music? This isn't heart-to-heart music. This is, I need to attune to this aetherite and then so go crush a fucking dungeon music. Never ends, does it? What can I do for you? We've brought samples from Charlie and Hamlet, series 110. The crates are by the entrance. I expected one of my colleagues, but we're dreadfully short-handed. You're Fourchenault's children, are you not? Fourchenault and I say at your service. You're well acquainted with father, I take it? I've been friends with your parents since the days at our studium. You were yay high, waddling hither and thither. Clearly it's been some time since. Good to see you again. Wielding your father's noliths, no less. You know our parents when they were young? What were they like? Spare no detail. I should like nothing more than the regale you. Alas, I am meant to be in charge here. Reams of paperwork want for submission. We can help with that, in exchange for short stories of our parents. Our parents would never willingly divulge, of course. There happen to be 3 sets of documents in need of delivery. How about you each take one? Oh boy. Wait. I don't know who you are. Never mind, Alphino and Alice, they certainly will be back soon enough. So I'm handing this. Oh, one of the signs of the 7th Dawn? I thought you were meant to be working on the Aether Burner. Yeah, we already did that. Yo, Paladin's work. I was beginning to worry he had misplaced a quill. Appreciate you sending these documents a hand. As for your other tasks, keep this between us. I sincerely hope you Scions succeed. Exodus is, without a doubt, the most monumental undertaking in the history of the Forum. We must be circumspect in all respects. Risk is a privilege we cannot afford ourselves. At its heart, however, Shallian has ever been a nation of the curious. It would be a tragedy indeed if we were the ones to stymie your pursuit of truth. Good points. Quick and efficient. I dare say you have a talent for this work. Twins papers need to be delivered elsewhere in the facility. They should be returning in any moment. Return with not a scrap of paperwork remaining on our persons, you will note. My thanks, apologies for sending you on errands far below your ambitions. Even as a baby struggled out of your swaddling clothes. Enough of that, thank you. Those compromising stories of our parents we like to hear. Of course, I've known your father for long. Must have something. Part of why the Livior name garners such respect in Sharlayan is your family's storied history. Trace your ancestry directly to those who came aboard in young Krep's hope, a lineage few can claim. Never thought much of it myself, not as though our forebears founded our nation. We were simply there when it happened. It has traditionally been a point of pride. That's why in young Krep's pronouncement, renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason has ever been our family's creed. Until your grandfather's time. Archon Louisoix looked not to young Krep's word but his deeds. He asserted, in defiance of his peers, that choosing to save the great and the small from rising tides were the true mark of a founder's virtue. Perhaps it was his expertise, his knowledge of ancient prophecy and the fall of civilization, that led him to conclude to eschew conflict at every turn was to co-sign mankind to his doom. There will ever be conflict, and calamity will follow. Thus, to ignore the plight of those one might conceivably save is not wisdom, it is indolence. You remember his words well. Archon Louisoix lived by that personal creed. He used every means at his disposal to bring succor to those in need, no matter who. No one loved and admired your grandfather more than his son. Yet, Fourchenault could not reconcile Louisoix's deeds with the philosophy of their forebears and his peers, in which he believed so fervently. It made power of his father. He agonized over his contradiction for much of his life. Son may carry his father's blood. His choices are his own to bear, is it not always thus? He's a cranky old goat. I'm sure you butt heads often enough, even so you must know that you're constantly in his thoughts. Every moment, every day. It's not exaggeration in the slightest. Should have seen him when you were born. Barely recognizable, he was. Kind of dumbfounded grinned I had not seen since he took a fancy to your mother. Skipping when he told me the news. Take my word for it, he loves you to an embarrassing degree. And he'll never admit it. He's also frustratingly single-minded. Once he's decided to a given action is for the best, he will stay the course no matter who or what opposes him. A profoundly annoying habit. When you're on the other end of it, sure you will agree. I'll say, thank you for the insight. When we next meet our parents, I shall mention that we spoke. Try not to get me in trouble now. I need the forum on my side. Ought to get back to work. I have to make sure these specimens you brought make it to their proper places, or the cranky old goat will have my hide. We can speak again later. Harold, you there? Graha, surely Coco hasn't driven you out of the forge already. For better or for worse, no, however, he has sent me a task that requires more than a single pair of hands, and here you are. At least 2 of you, but I want to jump to more. Alice and I have prior commitments. We have delayed too long as it is. Can you spare some time? I've got nothing to do! We've established refined adamantite is a product of Aleg, of the Empire's twilight years, in fact. Material which saw much use, part of Allegan's efforts to extend beyond the bounds of this world. Dalamud, of course, being the most prominent. Amon wanted to travel the Sea of the Stars? He did. He must have had his own reasons. No evidence to suggest that he retained memories of his life as an ancient. He only joined the Ascians once the Empire was all but dust, as you know. What drove him to pursue the idea with such fervor? It may seem far-fetched, but what if souls like minds have a personality, so to speak? A disposition towards which they are inclined. Armies before him, Amon was appalled by how those around him lived. Could never bring himself to believe that those lives were devoid of meaning. All of them sought that meaning, that hope, in the distant stars. So, Grahati is coming at us saying, hey, even though Amon is a different person than Hermes, like their lives were different, they both came to a point in their life where they started to question the point of living and looked to the skies and the stars above. Hermes had creation magics and could very easily send Meteon out there. Amon didn't, and begun building a method to traverse it himself. And that's what Graha's coming at us with. In the end, Hermes' soul was inclined to search the stars for answers, is what he's saying. I can feel those flames ablazing from here. Glad you found someone capable, Graha. Not much left for you to do. Let's conjure up some refined adamantite any faster. Alright, the final quest of the area. I do trust you to deliver on your promise. I do. Only... I hate waiting! I want that adamantite, and I want it now! Share your impatience, I assure you. Is there truly nothing else we can assist with in the meantime? I wish this sitting about unbearable. Pity the forums frowns upon recreational explosions. Well, so long as they can't prove it was premeditated. Get you gone. I have mistakes to make. In that case, I suppose I should go and return the key to the reactor. Oh god. Go to the Charlene Ham. Go to the Charlene Ham. Let's go! To get our Charlene Ham. Await your companions. I feel like this is a auto advance cutscene.
Set, I take it.
Oh, right. What were you guys doing? I forgot.
We finished what we could. Delivered supplies, tracked down escaped animals. Trivial tasks as they may be.
Hey, they're important to someone.
That's enough, don't you think? If there was anything more important still undone, that would be a problem in itself.
True.
The vessel is essentially ready for departure. All that remains is to load the final batch of supplies and see everyone on board. Once we've readied the ether burner, that is.
Ah, had a feeling we might find you all here.
Loporrit's in tow.
Our consultations with the Loporrits, too, have run their course. Pleased I am to say that our researchers' concerns have, for the most part, been allayed. Though some insist on making adjustments to the very end.
To the very end.
For their part, Livingway and her peers have graciously offered to stay and keep the people company, lest any lingering queries go unanswered.
All that remains is to wait for the refined adamantite.
Alphino, are you there? It's me, Cryo. Your special delivery has arrived. Round up everyone and come to the harbor at once.
Oh boy. Time to see the fruit of our labor.
Let us go at once.
Huh? Oh. This is the spot.
Forgive the intrusion, Master Fourchenault. I bring urgent news. A great commotion has broken out in Scholar's Harbor. Your presence is requested with all speed.
Huh? What's happened?
Now, where might this delivery be? Oh.
Oh? Oh! They brought the fucking airship.
Very important, but we cannot accept these without the proper permits.
By the 12! Surely, these can't all be.
Yo! Are you kidding me? The Sky Pirates! Holy shit!
Bleeding hellfire! They're bringing them by sea and by air. All these folks in these crates.
And more on the way. Got your adamantite right here. A bigger haul than any of these sorry bastards brought, and that's no lie.
I love Sickard so much!
Yes, because you were charged with seeing the shipments from Gridania and Uldar here, along with your own. Give credit where credit is due.
Oh, I'm popping off.
Sounds like the sorry whinging of a sore loser. An hypocrite to boot. Ain't no way a scrawny whelp like you took a dozen steps inside a Dalaman shard.
I'll have you know I went all the way to the entrance. Furthermore, 'twas my contacts that enabled us to enlist the cooperation of
the Sky Pirates. Are you kidding me?
Left you outside so you wouldn't get anyone killed, did they? Well then, credit where credit's due. You did a right fine job.
I love these two. Can I get adventures of them too?
Make me.
I will not stoop to your level.
My, what a grand welcome party.
What the fuck?
Hancock and Soroban.
I want to know what was up
Bearing relics both sacred
with Shinryu.
as well as a few other gifts that may be of help. To be presented with best wishes from the Eastern Alliance.
Of course.
I myself have come with a sacred relic of
From the Raisin Temple. That's right, he stayed there.
Senri's dango craving brought us to Kugane. We arrived precisely as Hancock was making his arrangements. Upon learning of your need, we made haste back to Hell's Lid, with our Dango, never fear, and consulted with the other auspices. All consented to the lending of Tenzin's legendary Phoenix Blade for this noble cause.
You know, I have to literally ask, because I did almost all the content in this game. There's a few things I haven't done. A big portion of it is the gathering storylines. Crafting gathering. I haven't finished Eureka, and I never finished Bajan. How much of this was like required? Because I recognize all this stuff because I've done all of it. Do they require you to do it? Do you have to sit there and do every trial in the game now? I'm really curious. Like, actually crazy curious.
Suzaku and Seiryu were nevertheless worried that it might be lost in transit, however, and insisted upon accompanying me to Onakoru, where I had intended to entrust it to our Confederate allies. I thought instead to give it over to Hancock when we chanced to cross paths yet again. But alas, Seiryu remained ill at ease, and ordered me see the blade into your hands personally, or die trying.
Or die trying, got it.
We did, of course, need quite the impressive vessel to get it all here in time. Fortunately, our majestic associates have been more than helpful. 'Tis an honor to join the Warrior of Light on another adventure, they tell me.
That is all wonderful to hear, but what of the extraordinary cost? I shudder to think of the ransom we must pay for such a bounty.
Bitch! We're saving the damn world! Fuck the bounty! You just paid the price of admission for the world being saved!
Fret not for your coin purse, young Alphino. Lord Lolorito looks ever towards the profits of the future, and thus the East Aldenard Trading Company went to some lengths to reduce the financial liability.
Because he's gonna pocket some of that coin.
And since the Scions funded the entire venture, not a gill need be rendered up in compensation. Everything is already yours.
We funded the venture? When?
Don't let the name fool you. This coin keeper knows a thing or two about spending. When it comes to capital investiture, a sprinkling of gil here and there will not do. You need enough savings to make waves when it really counts, which is why frugality is paramount. We also have the benefit of a generous patron. Generous being rather an understatement.
Sid. It's Sid?
She has supported us from the shadows.
Who's it?
The very founding of the Scions. We even had coffers to fill.
Yo!
I remain, of course, an entirely neutral party. I simply thought our family's coffers were needless.
Yo! I didn't expect that shit! Holy fuck!
with us on your teeny tiny toy boat, now can we? And would be a shame to leave all that hard-earned wealth unspent. Waste not.
That was amazing. They had a moment together.
However did you manage so much in so short a time, then? We expected word to reach only a fraction of our allies.
Did I not tell you I have my ways?
Yeah!
You were involved too.
Yo! Everyone is here!
I received a letter from Cryo after we parted ways in Labyrinthus. She explained what the Scions were trying to accomplish, and why you might soon require the services of the Gleaners, spread across the world as we are. I pray you do not interpret this as a betrayal of Charlotte. I accept that the Forum's aim in pushing us to our limits was to preserve what knowledge we have, and I bear you no ill will for it. Yet, in collecting that knowledge, what I came to appreciate most about our star is that there remains so much we do not know. That is why I chose to help the Scions, to combat the obliteration of those countless undiscovered wonders. I held no illusions that they would be less demanding taskmasters, though, rest assured, if I had, I would have been sorely disappointed. To make a long story short, the whole of the guild ship cooperated to ensure your call was heard far and wide.
The whole world went looking. There they are! Jesus fucking Christ! I was wondering!
About a ship that can fly to the moon. And why didn't you mention it sooner? The one time you don't beg my aid, your problem's a bloody ship that can fly to the moon.
And I'm Sid. I'm in all the storylines.
Brought the team. Of course. Garland Ironworks' finest. You need only point us towards my new favorite ship.
I can't believe Alpha is here too.
Oh, I nearly forgot. We stopped by Whirlid before coming here and picked up a package from Gaius.
And OMG. Gaius?
He's still of the mind that actions make for better penance than words, contrite or otherwise, so we offer none of the latter. What he sent is an Allegan relic Valens used in his weapons experiments. There's a fair bit of refined adamantite in it, too.
God damn! Dude!
As you like us not suspect, we've also brought adamantite for Mordona's Dalamud shard.
Oh, I really want to go on an adventure with Hoary Boulder.
To some consternation upon first receiving Kryle's message. So few Scions remain at the Rising Stones now. Far too few for such an expedition. However, the Gleaners were able to secure us reinforcements. Idleshire's treasure hunters, not least...
Yo, the treasure hunters of Idleshire. So we got the Gobbies.
Ah, the Gobbyflock fought. Slowfix's gratitude for the safe return of his daughter has not waned, and he gathered his kin to our side with an astounding quickness. The clash between their machina and the Allegan defences was a sight to behold. I wager even you would have been impressed by the magnitude of the Gobby booms.
Fascinating as all this is, I fail to see how it explains your presence here. Does Razat Han not have more pressing concerns?
We do. Yet averting the final days would be the most expedient solution. That, and I am indebted to you. Though they chose to take their leave of Thavnair, those you saved in Galimund remain my people. My gratitude is beyond words. 'Tis appropriate that I aid you in kind. If in the doing we bring salvation to others of this star, so much the better. You will recall that I spoke of my father, Midgard Summer, and his journey across the great expanse. As he traveled betwixt the stars, his resplendent scales drank of the ether in those nigh empty surrounds, and imparted to him the strength to persevere. Thinking they might further your cause, I called out to my kin for consent. Ajdaya's answer was silence, as ever. Tiamat and Chrisvelgre, however, responded favorably to the suggestion. My sire, too, stirred from his slumber long enough to speak and say, "Very well."
Your word? Yo, what?
Thus have I brought you his own worm scales. Fit them to your purpose, and seek a worthier fate for us all.
You'd be hard-pressed to find someone else so familiar with the unique properties of dragon scales. So I invited myself.
I love Nilhana so much.
Fucking me, this is so unbelievable. I've gone right back round to believing it again. Forget a 6% gain in efficiency. With all these goodies, we could get 7, no, 10, no, 14 bleeding percent.
The voice actor is going in.
Think of how far we could go. What we could do with that much power. What we could blow up.
What was that about blowing up?
If Kokol is duly convinced, then it must be true. In which case, the Scion's end of the bargain has been fulfilled. Would you not agree?
Yes, Father?
He has to admit it in front of everyone now. The whole world.
I know not what you seek of Hydaelyn, nor for what purpose you would take command of our ship. Yet this much is certain. To do so will be to dictate the fate of this star and the lives upon it. The lives of each and every creature, in their magnitude and their fragility. Do you understand? And are you prepared?
We have seen and we have felt how much each life shapes this world. And so we are determined to abandon none. We understand what is at stake, and we are prepared to bear this burden.
Then I will bear it with you. I beg you, share your struggles with me, as family. You grasped my fingers with such tiny hands the day you were born. I thought my heart might burst. 'Twas love and happiness beyond expression. Overwhelming, and a conviction so powerful that I trembled with something close to rage. I had heard the final days foretold. I swore to myself then and there that I would not let them steal your futures. The great exodus would succeed, must succeed. No sacrifice or sin was worse than the alternative. If anything gave me pause, 'twas mine own father. The Archon Louisoix openly decried Charlian's policies, a perspective which I regarded with increasing disdain as I grew older. Yet even as part of me thought him a fool, perhaps I also hoped that he, of all people, would devise a brilliant means to save my children. A naive hope, but stubborn enough that I could never bring myself to keep you apart. No, that
was his doing when he perished at Fourchenault. As we pulled that twisted slab of Dalamud from the sea, I remembered the warmth of your newborn touch. Chastened, I vowed never again to suffer any interference in my mission to protect you. No matter that you yourselves wished otherwise. Detest me, fight me tooth and nail, I would suffer it, and more, and be satisfied so long as I could force you onto the ship. I was wrong. You two have grown so much stronger and so much wiser than I dared dream. You have earned the right to walk your own path, and already begun to do so.
Good. Because there are things we care about, and people we love, and none of them is replaceable. Not a one.
It cannot have been an easy journey for you to have come so far.
We shall be glad to acquaint you with the finer details someday, once this danger has passed. All that we have seen and heard, that we have felt and learned in our travels. Ours is not a kind world, but it is beautiful. Always.
Oh no. Are you quite sure that's wise? After all, someone turns pale and flees the room when he sees so much as an envelope containing word of your adventures. Whatever will happen if he learns what you were really up to?
Millions. Though I have wronged my children most gravely, I owe you an apology as well. I assumed that it was the Scion's influence that made them so keen to charge headlong into danger. Yours, in particular.
None taken.
Said influence instead brought them together with the many fine people gathered here today. In which case, I hope you continue to guide them.
If we've finished loitering about the harbor, might I suggest we put our plans into motion? People are beginning to look confused.
Perhaps you can spare a few words ere they resume the tedious lugging of cargo. You've no small number of friends and admirers here, after all.
Gonna actually have me say something? I'm gonna just shout, "With me!"
Your assistance is appreciated. Now, in an orderly fashion, if you please.
I mean, it's a little obvious that Fourchenault is... he's just being an overbearing dad. That still doesn't make me not want to punch him. He's being a little prick. Finally managed to clear the harbor, which means the rest of the engineers' capable hands. Father has issued to us an invitation. As was agreed, he will reveal the means by which Heidelin may be contacted. We are to meet him in Aporia when we are ready. Given the vital knowledge he holds, I suggest we leave without delay. It transpires, however, that the forum's method for speaking to her is not without risks. I'm curious to hear what those might entail. Regardless, be warned. Most of those who arrive with their adamantite have offered to stay and see any remaining tasks that need doing. The forum have already taken to asking for my assistance in overseeing the process. You needn't worry about a thing. Thank you, Tataru. We're off to Aporia then. My god, this thing's crazy looking. It also looks huge. I bid you welcome to Thalmazen. Direct your attention towards the center. Behold the arc. We have long labored. It was designed as a medium-sized craft to reduce fuel consumption. Miniaturizing magics have been applied to its interior to ensure that thrust to weight ratio does not place too great limitation on its freight capacity. Aether burner, as you know, has been removed for further modification. We shall see it reattached soon enough. I have received word from Kokol and several of your allies are working on it with intense fervor. They are sure to see it done. 'Twas by their expertise that many a prior disaster was averted. If anything, I fear they will not afford us much time for speaking with Hydaelyn ere they finish. Point taken, let us move on. I must warn you again, however, even with the benefit of our device, to treat with her is not a simple feat. I've done what I can to impress upon you the gravity of what lies ahead. Be prepared. '89, her children, one and all. Oh boy, am I prepared. What's everyone think? You feel it too, don't you? The ship is impressive. It pales in comparison to the vast primordial power beneath our feet. Elegans, who first combined the mechanical and ethereal sciences into a revolutionary discipline. Given that the ship is nothing short of a technological marvel in its precise vein, elegant salvage should suit it well. Would seem that enhancements most advanced have been woven into the ship's very bones. Wolfson and Bolweda were doubtless called upon for their expertise in teleportation magics. I doubt this is what Ehrenfeld meant when he said that there remains much we do not know. I still can't believe everything was hidden underneath this city the entire time. Trial says, if meeting Hydaelyn proves difficult, even for the form, then perhaps Tis an unformed idea at this phase, I'm afraid. I will duly inform you if anything comes of it. Yostolo says, we must learn of Hydaelyn's greater plan. We can only hope that she also knows the current location of Meteion. And we could do neither if we do not focus on whatever trial awaits us within. I well imagine the zeal with which they're working on the Aether burner. All I could say is I'm glad we have something to do other than get in their way. Once it's ready, we'll see to it that the ship is put to good use. Yeah, we're riding this thing to go fight Meteion, actually. Fourchenault, I'm sorry to tell you, we ain't using this ship for, escort mission. To think, many generations labored for this end. That we aim higher still. We must spare no preparation. That means speaking with Hydaelyn, no matter the cost. That's everyone. I think I'm ready.